how do you cast that perfect joke? Like Chappelle when he was on SNL, for me, that was one of the best performances I've ever seen. And I told him, I was like, yo, think of the line when he says, people were laughing at people as they were leaving their house. He's like, yeah, burn your house, bring up. And then he goes, and that's why I hate poor people. If you missed that joke, the headline is Dave Chappelle says he hates poor people. But that man delivered it with such precision and perfection in the moment, in the tone, in the everything, that everyone knew it was a joke, and they knew that it was a misdirect, and what it worked. You don't even have to get technical. It worked, right? And so as a comedian, when I miss, I don't go screw the audience. I go, a little bit, you could try something different. Move that around. Where's the audience? How do you meet them? What are they thinking? What are they not thinking? Because my intention is never to go out there and that's not what I'm doing. So it doesn't affect me. The third thing I do is try and contextualize forward. And I think that's one of the great things that I've enjoyed about working on the Grammys. We live in a world where people are spending less and less time with people who are not like them. We live in silence. People don't mix with people from other religions. People don't have conversations with someone who has a different political point of view. People aren't sitting down at tables with somebody who listens to different music. It's not happening as much as it used to, right? And, we talked in one of the previous episodes with MKBHD, Marquez Brown. We talked about like this idea of the audience of one. How the For You page on social media is a fantastic invention, but it's also taken something away from society that we never really needed, which was to have a collective page. Did you see the thing? You saw the thing. I saw the thing. There's few instances that it's the Super Bowl, it's the World Cup, it's the Grammys. You know what I mean? The For You page, my For You page can be completely different. So what we think reality is completely different. None of us is wrong, but it's different. And so what I do is I contextualize. And the reason I say the Grammys is helping do that is because I have been at 5 Grammys now. And I've watched how people have been offended. By the way, not by me, I've been lucky. Like, people have been great, like, for most of it. But, like, I've seen people get offended at Sam Smith's performance that one year. People, like, get offended. How could he? How? I've seen people get offended by, like, oh, Shakira, there are children watching and you're going to dance. And it's like, no, the context, because they didn't, Shakira, this is Shakira, this is great. I've seen people get offended by a rap act that's come on, and someone hears like one or two of the lyrics, and they're like, how can they say, you're going to put that person on a public television show and let them say that? How could they say that thing? I've seen people get offended by how some of the artists are dressed during the show. This is family view and how could I've seen some people get offended just because an artist performs after another artist. I've seen.
And don't forget my cough syrup. Is it a wet or dry cough? Hello? Don't take a chance. Take Vicks Active Plus. Unlike other cough syrups, its dual action formula relieves both wet and dry cough. Vicks Active Plus.
QuickBooks gives me the superpower to automate my invoices, track expenses, and get paid fast, so I can get back to what I love. Get more done in less time with QuickBooks on my app. We have 219 apartments in this building, and it's extremely busy building. And by the time we have people coming in and out every single day, so the mere brand that we source from Flash bathrooms is extremely high usage. And we've got 0 complaints. We're very happy with the choice of fact that the architect made. It fits in literally with every style and element and architect side of it. The downside of humans coming together who are not homogenous is there's likely to be more offense. The upside is that's when you get the most beautiful tapestry, and I think that's what we experienced on the night. I saw people stand and cheer for Doechii because they had discovered her with that performance. Doechii knew Doechii. But people were standing up like, man, I just discovered Doechii. People were standing and cheering for artists because they're like, I know Chapel Roan. They're like, is this what a Chapel Roan is? Yeah. Charlie XCX. I saw old people start like, I don't know what this is. Yo, the think for me, I might be in the minority, but I think the risk of people being offended, for me, is worth bearing if it means we're all at least in the same space to be offended. Because I think society needs more of that. And so honestly, on a personal level, I always just put my head down and I go, better, Trevor. And I don't even do better like change the subject. I go like, no, how can we then in the future create something where the context isn't wrong? If I make a joke, and the point of the joke is what it is, and then you get angry, I really don't care. But if you go, oh, you said this and it meant that, and I'm like, no, that's not what I meant. Then I go, okay.
Then I need to do better.
Yeah, I go to a comedian. And then I go to a comedian, I'm like, okay, and I look at a joke and I go, tell it 10 other different ways. How could you tell it in 10 different ways so that the person who's listening to it would feel different about it?
It's a different world that we live in now. It's going off the ground. But like, as we do when you do this podcast, right? And you're out there and you're doing a daily show and you can do writing comedy and you're now talking to an audience that often will be offended for no reason, but sometimes might be offended for a reason. Do you have to change in the last few years? Do you think you've had to change the way you are because of the way people react to stuff now? Do you over-censor yourself? Are you more cautious in the way you speak? Are you worried about that? Or do you still have the freedom to say whatever you think is right and fine?
I actually think I've gone the opposite way.
Wow.
And I'll tell you why. When I was hosting the Daily Show, I wasn't just hosting the Daily Show, I was executive producing the Daily Show. I was in effect the employer of 170 odd people, I think at the peak 190 people. Me and my other executive producers, this is our job, is to not just make a good show, but keep these people employed. Like that's the pressure that comes with hosting a show. Is that if you get kicked off the air, it's not just me. It's my camera guys, it's my team, it's my this, it's my... And so in my head I'm going, us fail. Not me fail, us fail, right? So if I say something that hurts this collective, can I stand by that? Oh, Trevor, you made this joke and now the Daily Show doesn't exist anymore. And I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Yeah, but I do care. Because I know Bailey's kid. I do care. You know what I mean? I hang out with Zach. I do care. So that's the biggest thing for me. Now, I'm a lot more nimble. And secondly, I also believe, an Erin who does my hair as much as the Grammys and a bunch of things here in LA, she said it beautifully the other day. She said, I feel like we're moving into the age of authenticity. And I believe that. And so I go, we talk to Marquez about it on the show, we talk about everything. Man, I no longer live in a space where I think things should be about like the publicity or the PR. If someone says to me, I didn't like that joke, I go, tell me why. And they tell me, and I go, oh yeah, that's not what I meant. But thanks for the notes. And I'm going to try and tweak something immediately. I won't not say things. What I am more cognizant of, though, is that we have lost so much context. So even when I'm in South Africa doing a podcast with Sizwe and Anele, or even if I'm telling a joke in Abu Dhabi, or if I'm doing like a TV show in Sydney, Australia, I know that that joke doesn't end in Australia anymore. I know that that podcast doesn't end in South Africa anymore. I know that the Grammys doesn't end in LA anymore. And so now what I'm trying to do is very hard. I'm not even saying like in a woke media. I actually like hard things. I like challenges. I go, wow, how do you tell a joke that maintains its context across borders? It's almost impossible. But I love the opportunity and the challenge. And so now I actually say more, but I spend more time trying to get to the context. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So now then to you, right? I guess in the same vein, when you used to do the late late show, which obviously is you also EPO, that was in some ways an extension of the work you do at the Grammys. So for example, the week leading up to the Grammys, sometimes you get guests on, there's reports to the Grammys. And if anything were to happen, because it's only one night at the Grammys, if anything were to happen on the Sunday evening, you would have had an opportunity maybe on Monday evening to interview whomever the person was, clarify whatever gets clarified, etc. and so on. Without the late late show now, do you find that you don't get to do it over? Is that something that actually filters into your mind at all? Because I used to obviously see the synergy between the two shows. Right? Just having, been around the proximity to you guys, I'd see how one would work with the other.
Yeah, I think I miss, with the late late, it's not specifically missing replying to something that's happened, because I don't think the stuff I would ever go in ever goes into that controversial. The Grammys, I think two moments probably in the 5 Grammys I've done, including last night or whenever it was, 2 nights ago, that was, I got a bit of stick for whack with Cardi and
I remember that.
My answer on that one was Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion wanted to do that performance. They were excited about it. Who am I to say, no, actually, who am I to censor that? And say, no, you shouldn't do that. You need to be more like this. That's just not ever the job for someone like me. And then the Sam Smith one also, you're right, I got texts from a couple of people who were like, inappropriate, more from the religious perspective. There was a couple of people who said, I don't know if I watch the Grammys anymore because of that. I loved that performance, and I thought it was amazing. But like, I have to say, I probably changed a little bit. I've got 2 little girls now. I had men that maybe they were of an age where they were preteen stuff, and they were, sitting in the front row of the dress rehearsal watching Charlie XCX, and I was a bit like, oh God, my 5-year-old's like grinding, like throwing their fancies in the air, and I'm like, oh no, what have I done? But I'm probably a bit more conscious of it. I was a bit more like gung-ho maybe 5 years ago, and now I am a bit more conscious that, you are making a show that you want America to feel comfortable watching, not just your America. And so I'm very aware of that, and I think that comes into it. As for the Late Late Show, I don't miss being able to respond because it's James's show, not mine. Yes, I was the show with Rob, but it was James' show. What I miss is something will happen in the world, and you have no outlet to make a joke about it, make a sketch about it, or there'll be something that happens in pop culture and you're like, this is a great idea, but I have to do music video. I miss that hugely, but not in response to work that I'm doing, really. That's not what I miss. But I definitely miss that power of creating an hour of television every day, because it was just the most wonderful thing. I think about the Grammys, and it's like months of work for like that 4 hours, whereas at least the Late Late Show, you turn up every morning, you have a blank page, and you can do whatever you want. And that next day, you can't celebrate the good ones or mourn the bad ones because you've got another one tomorrow. Whereas if something goes wrong with the Grammys, and luckily it didn't. And in fact, I was happier than I'd ever been after this Grammys. Weirdly, I felt the most weight off my shoulders at the end. I don't know if you felt that from me.
I did. Because we had like no technical issues.
We had no technical issues, and it had gone well, and I really felt like everything that we wanted. You had done that high wire brilliantly, and the performances had worked. So it wasn't my favourite Grammys that we've done, even though everyone's saying, it wasn't my favourite Grammys ever, but it was the biggest relief I've had, because I was just like, oh man, thank God it's over. The Weekend didn't get leaked. Like, that was a secret for a long time. And Best New Artist is something I wanted to do for so long. Yeah, I just thought it all worked really well. And I thought the other thing is, that thing that you carry around, and the voting has nothing to do with me. I don't even have a vote, of course I don't. But everyone going, Beyonce's going to win out of the end. It's just a relief that it happened.
But also talking about like offense, I personally have gotten texts that have been delivered to me through like, I don't even know how like people know a person, literally people being like, how dare you say Beyonce made a country album? Do you let me tell you something? Don't you dare! But like people fighting with me, by the way. Like I made a category, like I vote, yeah, like I chose. Yeah, I'm even like, okay, first of all, I don't know how you got this decision, but I also cannot do anything for you. Me myself as person, I cannot do anything for you, right? But that's what I mean by like offense in that way. And here's the thing that's tough in life. What's tough in life is you should always remember that the car crash is the most attention.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just the way that humans are designed. Sometimes we try to make it insidious. How the news companies, they're always cut to the thing. Yeah, but also as humans, we look at the car crash. How was your drive? Man, there was a massive accident. How was your drive? I don't even know. You don't report the fact that the highway moved freely, you report the fact that there was a giant pile. Okay? So I also understand this, and I try to remind myself of this and think of it to people, but like, what I appreciate, I would say off the Grammy. So, when I have the phrase that it's not my favorite Grammys, I'm only talking on like a technical level, though, and on a, like, ease of, like, if I was a pilot, that's great. It's not my favorite flight because of the storm and the turbulence and all of that. Yeah. However, and I mean this honestly, getting to the end of that show, seeing the types of hugs that people were giving each other, seeing the way that people were responding to what had happened, seeing Dochi like celebrating her performance backstage, like, you know, like the greatest moments ever. And she's like, we did that shit, you know what I mean? Seeing like everyone, every single person experience something so special, you know, whether it's like Bruno Mars, people like that love music and doing it well. So to, you know, to see that in everything, and then on top of that, and it was like firefighters coming up to, you know, people like, thank you. I was like, you can't thank you. Firefighters coming up to me, man, thank you so much. And I'll be honest, that's what keeps me going. And I always say, there's this phrase, it came to my head a few years ago, and it was, let everything you experience in life be an answer to a question you already have. That's what I said to myself. Let everything that happens to you in life be an answer to a question you already have. Like, you don't know what the question may be, but when something happens to you, let it be an answer. So, your car is taking long, you're giving the car to a valet or something, it's not coming. And you're standing there, maybe the answer to your question, am I a patient person, is being answered right now. You know what I'm saying? It's an answer to that question. Someone says to you, hey, your shirt looks nice. And you go, oh, thank you, and you feel something. That's an answer to the question, do I care how people think I'm dressed? Take it the way you want, but it's an answer to a question you didn't know you had. And for me personally, when like a firefighter comes up to me and goes, you know, like one of the, like I think it was one of the chiefs, she was standing on stage, Sheila, doing the actual award. Sheila came to me and she went, you, and I was like, and she's like, I've got a bone to pick with you, kid. I was like, what? She's like, you gave me so many amazing years of the Daily Show, and then you go off and live life. She's funny, bro. And she really is. Yeah. And you just leave me like this. She's like, I'm glad you're doing everything else you're doing. But oh, give me a hug. And at that moment, it was like,
What was the question she answered at that moment?
the question that she answered for me was, am I doing it for anybody?
Right.
Does it mean anything to anybody else? You know, it was like, because I'll be frank with you, and see you know this, that you know this intrinsically about me. I don't care for most things, and I don't do it for me. Genuinely. I have a great time, like doing most things, just like whatever. When it's outward facing, I don't care for most stuff. But in those moments, I remind myself that it's not always about me. And I see her joy, and I'm like, oh yeah, man. I remember those people. You know what, the other firefighter comes up to me, and he's just talking about like the stuff I've said and the way I made him laugh. And I go like, oh yeah, don't forget those people. And for me, the Grammys in that way, I know it's not the reason, but to your point, when you go, damn, the Grammys itself, sitting near like $10 million that has been raised, just on one night, from, you know, literally from the top, from Doors coming all the way through, Billie Eilish, Sabrina Carpenter, and then you name it, all the way down to that final performance with Charlie XCX. And you know, every single person had to come together to do this, and in the same way, every single person who donated had to come together. Like I didn't know this, but now I'm even more proud knowing that each contribution wasn't $10,000.
Yeah.
Everyone was just like, yo man, and that's why I kept saying it the whole night, do what you can. It's not about like, just give what you can. And I think that was the lesson for me of doing the whole thing for this year was, everyone just give what you can in every situation. $5 doesn't help anybody who's locked out. It doesn't. But if everybody can give $5, you'll be shocked at what can happen. You know what I mean? Trevor Noah can't make it great. I can't make it good and I can't make it bad. But I can contribute to it. You know? Everyone can, and even like the recording members voting, no one can make Beyonce happy. You can't. But 13,000 people came together from the music industry and made her happier, I argue, than I've ever seen her, because I don't know her personally in that way, but like, I don't know, and I think that was the overarching feeling to me.
Isn't that kind of, I suppose, the nub and the joy of being a sort of event, that it's actually so consequential in so many different lives. If you do one of the evening shows, yeah, you can just feel good, but you do a show on the rock of the happy. It really means so much, all of those artists that are entertainment that
Yeah, and I also want to stress to people, you don't understand how many artists there are. I know we see the big artists and you know them, but man, you walk down and you'll see like a composer who is having a night of their lives, sitting with their spouse. All they've done is compose or even like conduct classical music, and they're just like, this is the pinnacle of what I'm working for. Sorry, I cut you off, carry on.
And so why do you not even charge for like who wins the music? And you certainly aren't got to long who gets performance behind stage.
That's right.
Right? And you also got a very personal relationship with the artist have even without experiences.
Let's never get to that point.
Let's never get to a point to add to the text or better because of everything you think.
Yeah, 100%. There'll be artists who I've got relationships with, and they'll be like, I've got a new single, I'm going to save it for the Grammys. And I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I'm going to say, well, I don't like this at all. But yeah, there's like really lovely things. I'd say like the three performances that I was really excited about for a long time. Not a long time, I just don't want to look at. When it's actually, I called Brandy Carlisle, who's a really good friend of mine, and I said to her, I've been listening to I Love LA in my car boat in the hotel downtown where we were evacuated to at my house where I was sitting during the day. Because I never thought the fire was going to come take my house away, but I did think like an ember could fly over and then a small little fire comes to big one. So I just decided the kids would be downtown in the hotel was going to sleep, and then I instead come and sit in my garden. I had a hose in the front, a hose in the back, and a hose in the back. Right? So I would sit there all day on my laptop doing work by the window in the garden, and I was just like looking in case it was empty, because I can put out an ember. Tiny little rifle, and you're just like, I'm going to protect my family, protect my house. Yeah, but no, the truth is, my house is only going to burn down because we were at the edge of Brentwood. So the fire was a long mile and a half, but it was close. It wasn't close enough. If it was coming for us, like it did with Palisades or Theatre, I would have been able to get in my car and go. But it was more likely something that got a lot of trees over the house. So I was just like, I think it'd be better for me to be there, put out a little fire, then it become a big fire, and then it's too late. So that's what we decided. It's not, I promise you, it's not as risky as it sounds. But I was listening to I Love LA, and again, going back to our earlier point, that I've suddenly become obsessed with the city. I don't know what's happened to me. But so I'd be listening to it, and I'd be like, what a great way. That is making me feel good. I love that song. Maybe you brand new with Loud change some of the lyrics that you did. But then I was like, who performed it? And at one point I was like, Stevie Nicks would be great. And then I was like, Miley Cyrus would be quite fun, would that be cool? And then I thought, well, Red Hot Chili Peppers would be great. They're going to do I Love LA, they want to do their own song. Which was amazing, but then it would be a bit more somber. Yeah, very somber. So I called Brandy Carlisle and I went, I really like the song, I think it's a good idea. Who do you think I should have? The intent to be like, who do you think? And she said, have you heard of the band Doors? And I was like, it's funny, I actually just watched them on Kimmel 2 nights ago. Because I know that I didn't know them well, I knew of them. And their house, like one of their houses burnt down, parents' house, all of that. And she was like, I know them, and they're like incredible musicians. And so I was like, maybe we do that, and we put super people around. So that was an amazing moment doing with that band. They were like, why is the Grammys calling us? Like, not that they're not amazing, but like, they're not nominated bands. And I was like, you, and I got on with Zoom with Taylor and Griffin and their manager Ryan. And I said, look, I want you to go to the Grammys, come follow in the footsteps of Prince and Bruce Springsteen, Michael Jackson. And they were kind of like, oh my God, this is insane. And it's a weird moment for them, because they know they've just experienced the biggest sadness in their life. They've lost everything.
But then out of that,
they're opening the Grammys. So it's like a really amazing thing they were dreading. And then it's a real weird feeling for them, because you're like, well, I'm only getting that. Yeah. I'm not going to, Doors aren't going to open the Grammys at this stage. They might in a few years, but then right now they're not opening the Grammys unless that happens. So that's actually a bit of a head-screwing thing for them. But that was beautiful, because I knew it could be amazing, and I knew they were great musicians. And every musician called John Legend, Brittany Howard, except Sheryl Crow. We emailed Bob Dylan's manager, and I haven't heard back yet, but I'm hoping maybe we'll get a reply.
Maybe in South Africa, taking time away.
So those calls were fun, and then Ray and Dose was really fun, because I've been a fan of those for a long time. Both of those I've known them for a while. And then when Colbert put, oh man, Dose,
your camera camera shot of the Dolce thing, like, made it look like she's like 18. You see that?
No.
That's like, but this is what I mean about like the aperture and light, right? Go on. So the joke we always had at the Grammys is this: who you cut to defines the moment. I mean, like for instance, if I make a joke about Taylor Swift and you cut to Taylor Swift, and Taylor Swift is like, it's over.
Okay.
It's over. Now
That happened to Joe Coy.
yeah, now
That's what happened.
Now she might have been going for anything, but you cut to her at the wrong time. And you have to.
It happened to you, I think, 4 years ago.
You have to be sensitive about this. Actually, you know, obviously you and the director is like, you can make something that isn't something become something. So, for instance, if you cut to an artist, do you remember the year Beyonce won Best Dance, and the camera cut to Diplo?
Golden Lucent is catching up to you. Short to work every time you fall in the once over.
And he leaned over to somebody, and what he's now said was that he said, like, I worked on that, or I wrote on that, something like that, because he did, I think he worked on the album. But he went like, I worked on that. And then people at home were like, oh, he said, that's screwed up, or she shouldn't have won, or she didn't deserve it. And all of a sudden, Diplo's now having a huge with an army of Beyonce fans.
And you worry about that.
And I always wonder about that on your side. It's like,
Well, you know what it is? It's about the timing of it. Because what happens is, so I will have a bank of, Hamish is in the director seat to my right, and I have a bank of all of the cameras, so that's 20 of them.
Yeah.
And so I'll specifically ask for the 4 that are in the audience.
yeah.
In my best highlight. So I'll be looking there, and so while Hamish is calling in about camera 2, so around the back of the camera, but I will always be looking at where the stories are, because I'll know the stories more than Hamish will. They will know that the shots and tells a legal story, but I'll know that, like, Billy and Charlie XX's close friend, and like, so I'm aware of that because we put the show together.
Yeah.
But like there is an example actually in this specific one, like I cut to somebody and they were smiling and they were really clapping really, really a lot. And I said I always call, I went, 2's nice, that's what I'll go, lovely on 3 or whatever, which is my way of going really politely. I'd like to cut to 2 or 3 and Amy knows that. Rather than going, cut to 3, I just go, 2's lovely and he'll be like 2. And then go, but sometimes he'll have, he'll be doing other things because he's got other plans or he wants to go wide or whatever, or I'll be shouting, see the room, and go wide. Yeah. But if he cuts a little bit late, then somebody laughing, right, or like enjoying it, somebody laughing, and if he hits it a bit late, and then they've just finished laughing, and then they're gone, and then you cut there, it's all rude. And it happened this year where somebody was really applauding somebody for winning. I genuinely can't remember which one it is, I'd have to watch it back. And they were applauding like that, and I went, cut to camera 2. He did it for a second, but then he went like 4 seconds later. And by that stage, they were like this. Really like man. And everyone was like, wow, they were so annoyed that they won, and I was like, oh, it was. They won, yeah. So it's all actually, it's not even just about the cutaway, it's about the split second of the cutaway, because somebody's doing a laugh, the peak of somebody's laugh, their face is very different to the come down from the laugh. You've got to catch it. But then sometimes, like when we caught, Taylor did like a dance, I can't remember when it was, but something happened, and she did like, she sort of did this dance, and it was only for that second she did it with a camera on, it was incredible, and I was like, oh my god, that's amazing. Same with the meme that's going to go forever of Beyonce being shot. Yeah. What happens, and there's one thing I'm going to change next year outside, what I'm going to change next year, if I'm allowed to, I'm saying it, I want to swap the artist name and the album, because what happens is people go, Cowboy Carter, Beyonce. And actually, the TD, the technical director, he doesn't necessarily know with the name of everybody on the album. Short and sweet. Sabrina Carpenter, and then you might. Yeah. So I think we should change it where they go Sabrina, and then you immediately think no, and you're not waiting. Because if we miss, like luckily we did miss it on Beyonce. If we missed it like Shake, you wouldn't have the Franklin later. Yeah. Then the whole thing would have been like she was so surprised. So like the timing of that, when you get up, the fine. It's also, I know, it's just the Grammys, but it is still the Grammys. It's also a lot of power to women. You can make beats that don't exist, right? You can make artists, right, quote unquote, hate each other. Like, according to the public, oh, you saw how she responded when he won the award. You can literally, it also reminds me to be cautious of how I even see the world. Like I go, don't forget that the world that you're seeing is filtered. Somebody's showing you something, and how they show it to you to find how you think it actually happened or didn't happen. And not in the conspiratorial way, just remember, the way you see something has been chosen by somebody else. And so in that new Panyana, I've seen people's faces shift, like for moments, but where the camera is. Well, you know what's funny? I made one big change when I took over this show 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was a change for the worse of the show. No question. I scrapped the quality when you see everybody's face when they win awards. Because that was always on the show. It was always on the show every year. For the 62 years of the Grammys.
We're talking about the part of the show where they go,
the nominations are, and then they go, and then as they're opening the envelope, everyone's all 5 or 8 faces, all nominees are up there. And it's my favourite bit of the award show. I am rewriting it. I'm rewriting it to see their expressions. I'm rewriting to see how good they're acting. I love it. Everybody loves it. And for the lesson of the audience experience, I took that away. I made the show worse by doing it. But why do you? Because I think the Grammys, when we took it over, had some work to do with marketing. I felt like the Grammys had, over the years, burned a few bridges with quite a lot of artists. I felt like I spoke to some well-known artists who are friends, and they felt like they were always on display, like they were in a zoo. They were in those lines, they were in all, you would roll into the theatre, and all the cameras were there, and you're just sitting there squatting, you're stuck, you can't get out, you're on a road, right? No one's on the aisle, there's only a few people on the aisle. So they were trapped and they were on camera, and they all said that, although they loved winning a Grammy, I think they felt like it was a lot of pressure for them, and it was difficult for them to enjoy, because they all felt on display. And there was also lots of other problems with the Recording Academy and Grammys that aren't for me to discuss now, it's none of my business anyway. But I essentially went around and spoke to a lot of artists, and I really wanted to make artists. One of the biggest things I wanted to do 5 years ago was make artists want to come back to go again and enjoy it and love it and have a great night. And one of the things I get most happy about on this night on Sunday, that room, as you just said, is stacked. And it's not just nominees. Like, people are showing up. They want to come. They want to be there. They want to present. They want to be part of it. They've got boxes. And it's become, I think that's for 3 reasons. One, it's because we go out of our way to be as loving and as kind as we can to everybody. And like, we do it in a nice way. Number 2 is people love the tables. They've got food, they've got drink, they've got things. It's an atmosphere.
I want to interject on that because I get to experience that in the way that you guys live it. You order to the room, you order that thing somewhere. Yeah. Then by the table, I come up with these good things on my fight.
People love it.
People move from place to place during airplay. People come on, yo, come, reach. Yeah, whatever, that's all the people. That is, honestly, probably the best.
So before I took over, there wasn't drinks, there wasn't food, there wasn't tables. It was all just roads. You can't get up and speak. You've been at the Emmys or whatever. You can't get up and talk and go around. You can't get in. People are shuffling. They're up, they're down. It's not. And then I also felt, as much as I love the camera in someone's face when they lose, and as much as I think that's good TV, I felt for the long-term gain of the Grammys and the warmth that people feel, I want everyone to feel protected. And I know that losing on camera for them is going to be difficult. And you know what? They don't need to have a camera in their face. Or if they do have a camera in their face, we're covering everybody. But I actually go out of my way. I really try. If I do see somebody who does really look a bit upset that they've lost, I don't touch it. I don't touch it. Because I know that's good for gossip, I know that's good for the internet. It's not good for them. And it's not good for the person. And I really want it to be a nice, loving room, and I want people to love coming, and that's our bread and butter now. It's about me coming back every year and enjoying it. Because that's why they announced the history of it is the most, in the history of television, the most social impressions of any TV show of all time was this last Sunday. Wow, of all time. And like, that's because everyone's in the room. And I want everyone to feel protected by that. So if I did think Billie Eilish was crying because she'd lost an album, we wouldn't have cut that. Right. But because she was crying like Gaga was with the emotion of the moment, or Firefighters, whatever it was, I was like, that's a beautiful shot. So yeah, that's just something that we changed that I miss, because as a viewer I miss it, but as the person who has to oversee the show, it's helped me a great deal. And I just feel like, don't worry about it. You're going to be fine. You're not going to be embarrassed. I like that. Congratulations, man. It was a message for you. You danced that high.
No, for real. It's not an easy task. You spend pretty much a year on, like, you only get a few days to enjoy the Grammys, and then you go into the Grammys immediately again.
Well, yeah, thank you. I mean, I jumped on it. It's like a month.
I'm always happy to do that. Like the last thing I did before I woke up on stage is oftentimes what the stage hands are saying. And even that is part of like, literally like part of the football team or something. You know, like the lead stage hand comes out and then you make this beautiful speech. I didn't even know that I was like listening to it, but I felt motivated. He's like, all right, everybody, you know why we're here? You know what we're doing? We got one night, people. Let's make this work. Let's put our best foot out there. And come on, guys, let's get through it. Let's get to the other side. Ready? Let's do it. Yeah. And I'm cheering like, yeah, and they feel like, oh, the host is here with you. But I was like, no, thank you. I needed that. I also needed that. So
It is, yeah, recognition. It's a corny thing to say, and it's boring for a podcast, but I want to say it's 100% true.
This podcast is boring.
No, I like it. I found it out therapy. It's been lovely. But like, it's like I'll be the one who sits here and talks about the show and represents it, but like, we put together this A-team. Like, you're talking about those stage hands. Just think about how quickly they need to take down Sabrina Carter's set and build that weekend pyramid. You know, Raj Kapoor, Jesse Collins, Patrick Menton, Tabitha Jeanette, all of them in the world, they just do this phenomenal job. That makes, I think, the hardest show in television possible.
Yeah.
And the fact that people are being nice about it. Look, I'm more relieved than I am happy. I'm never like, I never.
Kuba jauh dari virus main.
I'm just more relieved that, like, you know, the 12 nice emails came in. That's it.
I like that. The 12 nice emails. Ben Winston, thank you so much, my friend.
Oh, it's lovely chatting to you all.
There's something about mom's touch. Cough, headache,
Oh wait,
and
tu mau feel something.
It's more than just my touch. It's Vicks Vapora. It relieves nasal congestion, cough, body ache, headache, and muscle stiffness for a good night's sleep. Vicks Vapora. How are we going to win this? We're going to lock in our confidence.
New Ditto Skin Detox infused with charcoal and aloe extracts. For 3 times cleansing, gives you 3 times more confidence.
Okay, as soon as you're ready, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Alright?
Go! Action!
And action. What? Do you like the and when they do and action, or do you just like action?
And.
Doesn't and just become like saying action, basically?
No, because and is before action, so it's half the beat before. It's like saying 1, 2, 3, go. Same thing. Same idea.
Okay, so it just gives everybody like a moment to...
Yes, as opposed to action.
Oh yeah, I can feel that.
You feel that?
I can feel that. Does the way a director kick off a scene influence how the scene goes?
It can.
Like if you're doing like a really intimate, calm scene or like, and someone like action, does that throw everything off? Or... What do you think? I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
Yes, it would
Begini yung record the pro
be a
podcaster.
disaster for everyone.
I want to be the director.
Yung wala dyan na school sa lan, wala yung podcast.
That's great.
Yeah,
Kasi kita duwat na.
Unfolded.
Yeah.
Ito pala kasi.
Nandiyan ka ba nga bawal pa?
It's what now? It's Trevor Noah.
Jade. Kasi, ja, en zei ik moet.
Kaya goed je zeggen, maar alle moeten
Welcome to another episode of What Now? The podcast where we have interesting conversations with interesting people who oftentimes make us think or feel. And I think our guest today is
Als je werd er hem af.
you know, the pinnacle
Ja,
of that.
schoonwater.
If you watch
Kinmos.
everything or anything, you'd know her from Seinfeld, the character Elaine, best dance move ever in history. If you watch HBO or if you had access to the show, you know Veep, the show that satirized American politics, and then American politics was like, well, we're just going to do that.
Sorry. Sorry, everyone.
Oh, wow. If you watch movies,
Hoe zegt het mij?
you know her from really
Was u op
wonderful,
Robberkast?
fascinating movies that
Hehe.
oftentimes don't match up with what you think she would be doing from what you've seen her doing on TV. And today we're having a conversation about one of those movies. It's from Tuesday, a fascinating story
Salut, boer.
about a mother and daughter who are grappling with death that is knocking at their door in the form of a macaw. So Julie Louis-Dreyfus, welcome to What Now?
Thank you, Trevor.
It's so good to have you, especially considering like A, how big you are, and then B, how famous you are. Do you ever, no, I was thinking about this, and it sort of framed, you know, what I want to talk to you about today. It's evolution in all
Is
things.
hij bangripak nu,
And it's not
Robert?
really about the famous.
Ah?
Like,
Bangripak? Yeah, laat me pakken.
you know, you have
Jezus, ja.
impact in the
Yeah.
90s,
She's
starting
also
with one of the most
yes.
successful sitcoms.
Caesar.
And then, you know, you have impact in the 2000s on Veep as one of the, you know, it's the most successful,
Yeah.
like hardcore, you know, HBO, like, you know,
Yeah.
go all in. But that's the vibe at the time. SNL, I even forget SNL. Think about, like, because that was before my time as I wasn't watching American TV. And then now you're doing it again in film, and you're in the podcast space, which makes me feel good, by the way. Well, because if you're doing podcasts, then I think I'm in the right space at the right time.
You're perfect for podcasts because you're such a conversationalist. And you're,
Thank you.
you are. Yeah. I mean, I've heard your podcast. You're quite good at it. Just
Thank
to
you. Thank you very much.
throw some back at you.
Thank you very much. I like to start with a little self-compliment. Thank you
Yes.
very much. But no, seriously, like, let me ask you this, like, selfishly maybe,
Okay.
but also for people who are like evolving or trying to evolve in life. Like, how do you keep your finger on the pulse of what will be versus on just what is?
I don't know. Have I done that? I'm not. I
You
mean,
don't, you don't think you've done that?
well, I don't know. I haven't ever thought about my life like that. I mean, I know you're going to think it's bullshit. I think I've been pretty lucky, but I'm also incredibly ambitious.
I don't think it's bullshit at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's been both. I've also failed, by the way, but carried on from it.
Waar is
Because I
u?
just like to do this. That's all. But
Isa.
I would add that I don't feel regret. I don't have regret. So even the things that didn't work in the way I had hoped that they had worked, I can stand by proudly. You know, like even SNL, for example. I stunk on SNL, but it was not a good experience for me. But guess what? I met a lot of people, and I learned a fuck ton on that show. I did. I really learned a lot, and that, but I learned the hard way. It was hard. It was hard.
Do you bounce back quickly from those?
I guess I do-ish. Sometimes it takes some time. You know, you can get a little bruised. I take it to, sometimes I cry and stuff, and then it's okay.
Yeah, because I know for stand-ups, we try and find that next joke or the next moment that'll make us feel like we're in the right place. How do you help yourself bounce back? Like, what's the thing? Because with stand-up, it's easy. You go tell another joke, and then it sort of
I
helps
see.
you get over the previous failure.
Yes. I walk away from it completely.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so I can just, you know, I get out of that headspace. That's the thing that's so nice about, like, since we're not, you know, we're not brain surgeons here, we're actors. And so you can, like, be like, all right, fuck it, it's just movies, it's just TV. I'm gonna go focus on something else. And so I do, and that's good for me too, for real.
You know, one of my favorite people I've seen speak about this is Denzel Washington. Where he doesn't take it as seriously as people would think he does.
Right.
But he loves doing it, and he respects the craft. But he also goes, what a fun, silly thing to be doing.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, you're making a living doing pretending.
Yes, pretending, but then making people feel real.
Yeah, which I love. I remember when I was little, really little,
And I was in the car with my mom, and she was driving, and she was, I don't know, talking to somebody in the front seat. And I was listening to the conversation, and I was noticing how it didn't sound like people acting. It was people talking. So I already started to notice things like that.
How old were you when this was happening?
Maybe 8.
Wow.
But I remember noticing that, and anyway, I don't know why that just popped into my head, but it did.
You're just sitting on the car,
Listening.
and you're going, this sounds real.
This sounds real. Yeah, this sounds real.
When did you know you wanted to do that? Like
From the get-go. I mean, I don't remember knowing
Zo,
that I didn't
hoe
want
is
to
het?
do
Is het nu?
it. I've always
Hij datum
wanted to
nog.
do
But
it.
what did you want to get into? The show
Zonder
or
hem.
business?
The show. I wanted to be in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted
Zane,
to, you know,
Zane.
play a part.
I was listening to your conversation with Conan, which was really great. And the two of you talked about how there used to be like a linear path to success. It was like, you make a sitcom,
Yeah.
and then you hope that another one comes, and then maybe there's a movie, and then your life is over. You've broken that mold time and time again. And when I speak to people who are in the industry, like if I say, oh, I'm going to be talking to Louis-Dreyfus, it's amazing how they all admire you for forging like a new idea of what you can do. Do you feel that for yourself as well? Do you ever, like, what I mean is, do you think to yourself, I'm going to do something new purposefully? Or is it the luck that's coinciding with you just wanting to work?
It's not necessarily something new. I wouldn't sort of characterize it as such. I would say I'm going to do something that gets me going, and I'm going to find that again. Does that make
That makes
sense? I
complete
mean,
sense.
yeah, that's what I'm looking for. That, and it's exciting. It's kind of like fishing. You don't know what's going to bite.
Do you fish?
I do.
Really?
Yeah.
What kind of fishing?
Any kind I can do if I'm on a boat or if I'm near a river. I'm not very good at it, but I do love it. There's something about the excitement, you don't know what's coming. And I sort of feel that way about jobs, you know, touch wood. I'm also superstitious. Superstitious.
Okay, I like that. So you just go, I don't know what's going to happen, I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm going to jump into this excitedly and see.
Totally.
What do you like about working? Because I feel like everyone has a different thing. Some people are running away from something, some people are running towards something. So what do you like about working?
I like,
Je ziet hem klaarzitten.
well, there are a few things I like. I like being part of the team. Because when you're working on something, you're, you know, as actors and with crew and the director and so on, you're part of a team. You're all working towards this common goal of making whatever this is.
Right.
And, you know, I make the assumption that everybody's on the same page. That's not always the case. Sometimes people are bumping heads. But let's just assume when it's really working, that part of it is incredibly satisfying. And then I like the play.
Kun je maar even moet.
Ja, dat is ook weer.
I like,
Hele zeemoed.
that just really close to me.
And when you like, I
Still pretty recognized how we expect to start to flow that get all the crazy work. That be that insights from the crazy. We have analytics and AI systems now. Join FPS now. Then we'll start to lift us engineers to tackle intelligence competitions. Brought to life on standards for dishwashers. We will use it for reference. Intelligence glass for its standards. Got some
I've met you out, and I feel like at the club, I want everyone to know this. You were partying out, you were at the club. It was a good time. I was like, I was like, JLG, what you doing in the club? She's like, I can't hear you. I was like, that's what you're doing in the club. But when you guys we were like, what? So when I met you out, I was pleasantly surprised at how close you are to some of the characters you play. Obviously not as crazy and as quirky as you know some of the moments, but there's the underlying current of you in everything.
Sure.
You know, and then you know, like in this movie, for instance, if you're in Tuesday, I don't recognize you, to be honest.
Okay.
No, which I think is a good
the me that you know.
Yes, but yeah, exactly,
Mhm.
exactly.
Mhm.
Who do people think you are versus who you are? Like, how far do you think those two are from each other?
Well, they always think I'm gonna be feminine, which I'm not. I mean, I am, but I'm not, you know.
But you are.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah, okay, yes.
I'm sure it's the same for you. People are expecting something to come from you.
I often disappoint people.
Yes, I do the same. I do the same. I'm actually kind of, I'm an observer. I'm listening to those conversations.
What I try to explain to people, if you're always performing, when you're observing what you're going to do,
Correct. That's exactly right.
okay, I see this.
Yes.
Yeah, Tuesday was, first of all, thank you.
Oh, wow.
I know it's a weird thing to say, but thank you.
Oh,
So
wow.
I watch people that interview, and then sometimes it's terrible. And I don't mean that in like a disparaging, it's just like it's terrible.
Well, they can't all be good, right?
Yes, exactly. Not like that, I'm like, it's terrible. So I understand, but I don't put it out. But this was like, it wasn't just amazing. It was also way deeper than I thought it was going to be, and I didn't know what to expect.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
I'm not gonna lie. So I watched it cold.
You had no idea?
No idea what I was getting into, which is how I like to watch movies.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then I got into it and I was like, is this a horror? Then I was like, no, it's not. No, what is happening here? It's really disconcerting.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a fantasy. It's a sort of a fairy tale with magical realism, and you go on this journey with the sort of three main characters.
Yeah.
My character, Dora, my daughter, Tuesday, and of course, Death.
I almost don't want to spoil it for anybody, but I want to talk about the themes and the story. I will say things that hopefully will make people watch the movie,
Okay, that's good.
but it won't make them understand the movie.
Okay. We won't be able to pick it completely apart anyway, because it's sort of multi-level, that movie, I think. But anyway, I'm so curious to know what appealed to you or didn't or whatever about the movie.
Okay, so the first thing for me is, I couldn't tell whether or not it was a comedy, which I think, I genuinely think is one of the best things you can create in life is a story where people are unable to discern whether or not it is or isn't funny, because I think that's what life is, depending on how you're looking at it all the time.
Couldn't agree more.
You know, like, if somebody falls in the street, and it's like that like funny slaying fall, it's funny if you're not the person. When you're the person, it's not funny until they have a little time away from it, then it becomes funny. And I feel the same way about like stories and movies and things.
Yeah.
Depending on what moment you're watching it from,
Yeah.
you go, no, this is funny. No, it's not funny. This is very sad. This is deep.
Right.
This is hilarious.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of everything, but I would say it's much more dramatic than it is comedic. But, by the way, completely off subject, but somewhat related. Have you ever seen that footage on somewhere on the internet where they took like The Shining and they put a comedy soundtrack to it?
Yes, I've seen it.
Isn't that fascinating, by the way? Yeah.
But I talked to, it was Jordan Peele about this. And I said to him, please don't be offended. You know, sometimes I say things that I understand people might take them on, but don't be offended. But sometimes I watch a movie and I go, this is a very funny comedy. And he said, in his opinion, all horrors are comedy with scary music. It's the same pacing, it's the same rhythm, it's the
Oh,
same.
that's fascinating.
And so I wonder if
I need to work with him. Because I would love to work with him. Yeah.
when you read the script for a movie like Tuesday, are you seeing it as something because they told you that, or are you going, oh no, I didn't make this what I wanted to because I'm going to be in it?
Neither. I read it cold, so I did not know what it was. And you can imagine, I was just sort of like blown away by what was on that page and was really quite immediately intrigued, but had to get some understanding of what the writer-director, what her vision was here, and because there is animation in it, I wanted to make sure what she was thinking about through the animation. Because, like, if that animation doesn't work, this thing is going to be a surprise.
I didn't even think of it as animation, no.
I know, although the play we were playing 14 different.
Okay, so as there was a character that I was
It's a macaw, whatever. But it's just kind of a exaggerated version of a macaw. It's a fantastical version because macaws don't really look like that. They're not that color. They're not, blah, blah. And of course, he morphs throughout the movie, size and color-wise. So,
very disconcerting.
yeah, it is, in fact, because in the beginning of the film, my character is completely in denial about what is happening in her life and, more importantly, what's happening with her daughter. And it's making very, very bad decisions because of that denial.
Right.
Denial's not a great response.
And yet it seems like the most natural one.
Yes, exactly. I think we all do it to a certain extent.
I think we didn't.
Yeah, but you know what else is weird? This movie, it's a conversation starter, I suppose, about death and dying and the afterlife and all that. And it's extraordinary to consider that we're all going to die. And we don't really think about it too much. But it's funny to think that all the people in this room, we're all going to be dead one day.
Yeah, that's
Weird. Did I freak you out?
That's what I love about the movie. Is you were playing, in my opinion, everybody's idea of who should and shouldn't die.
Okay.
Like you represented the idea that we all have of who, like we don't think we know who should and shouldn't die and when they should and shouldn't die.
Yeah, I'm negotiating with death.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a friend who always says, you don't know that you're going to die. He has this theory, and I actually believe him. He goes, we all do not know that we're going to die.
Well, what
When we think, like as a theoretical
Data mas eh?
we understand that we get to the conclusion of life.
Yeah.
But he argues,
Bukan lang.
I felt in this film,
Contes.
he argues that
Wie?
Contes ito lang ito.
Kankers.
I know that it seems like
Kasama sa deringan.
Ha?
Isasama sa deringan.
Ah,
Asib asib ay jawab ng sabi ito.
so this is what he
Bagay.
said when we tried it.
Ang simulan.
Every day,
Kaya kaya iglaya lang siya may umalawa ka lang.
I would
Oh.
always shocked when they died.
Shocked. And the people around them are shocked.
Yes, but and that's what I'm saying, because nobody knows. Like nobody, it's like you don't know that it will happen. You don't believe that it will happen. We told it like this theoretical thing.
That's right.
And everyone goes, yes, of course.
Novi tayo geweest nog weer.
Well, that's like what you need.
Ay probable.
Oh my family.
Kasi po,
Halo sa sister ba jay?
oo, nagtopi iglaya lang siya.
Yeah, it really is. Neat.
Nagkuha tinatotro.
No, this is them over here. No, not me.
We're going to continue this conversation right after this short break. Okay, so this is what I wanted to ask you about comedy-wise. I'm fascinated by physical comedy.
It's really comic, yeah.
It is both the lowest form of comedy and simultaneously the highest.
Yeah.
And so I want to know from you, like how you think of physical comedy in a movie about death that's really sad, but you're still doing something really funny, but it's not necessarily you do the funny as an end. Like, okay, like the scene for instance where you grow to the size of a room. It's very funny.
You think?
You think it was funny?
No, I didn't think of it as being funny, but I'm delighted you did. It's fine.
Oh damn, I might have that comedian brain where I laugh at the wrong things.
It's okay. You're the winner. You laugh.
I didn't laugh. I thought it was funny.
Oh,
It didn't make me laugh, but this is a funny.
it's weird. I would say it's weird.
Yes.
It's weird. But that's different than physical comedy, I think. I mean, in my view.
Well, but you're the expert. I would defer to you.
Well, I mean, when you say physical comedy, I'm thinking of using your body sort of physically to get the laugh, to enhance a joke, as opposed to, in this film, there's all this crazy physical stuff that happens, but it wasn't in service of a joke necessarily. Does that make sense?
That makes complete sense.
Okay.
And so the way I interpret physical comedy is I go, how does somebody do something with their body that can make you laugh whether or not?
Ano yun yun?
That's why I talk about falling.
Yeah, falling is great.
Like I think I've been falling for this physical comedy.
Yeah.
But no one who's falling intends for you to laugh. It is not punctuating a joke. They're walking, and then there's a joke at the end of it. But there was not a joke. No one wrote the joke.
Yeah,
Walking, 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 no more walking.
There was a scene that we did on Week. It was in the last.
When your business story involves international trade, our solutions let you navigate uncertainty while protecting your cash flow. At ABSA Corporate and Investment Banking, we are invested in your story, and we invite you to write with us because your story matters. ABSA.
Only if we concentrate into the Artistry and collecting 99 brilliant pieces of gold, each has a single piece and shine. Satisfaction guaranteed with a fast dishwasher or facial money back.
Of pieces, and we are. I think it's the convention. Maybe it's the final episode. I don't really remember, but anyway, in which my character. I can talk about it. It still makes me laugh. My character is having a really bad time, per usual. Nothing's quite going her way, and she's flipping out. And I'm sitting in a couch, and Tony Hale, who plays my beloved, or would like to think he's beloved assistant, comes up to me and he says, and I'm out of my mind, and he comes up to me and he goes, do you want 6 almonds? Sort of a nod to, do you remember?
Yes.
Almond story. Yeah, which was 7 almonds for him. And so he goes, do you want 6 almonds? And this is physical comedy that I thought really helped that joke, because it was written, do you want 6 almonds? But then what happened was, Tony comes up, sort of behind the couch into my ear, and I turn and I scream at him, full pitch scream in his ear, no, I'm telling you this now, it's not funny in the telling, but it's a huge scream at him. And he fell back behind the couch. And I honestly, to this day, as you can tell, I think it's one of the funniest things I have ever been a part of. His fall, and it made me think of it because it was a fall, because he also falls out of frame, which is, it doesn't get better than that, falling out of frame.
Was it planned?
Oh, we planned it in rehearsal. So in other words, it was written, do you want 6 almonds? Selena screams no, but then I have this idea, well, how about he comes over, he whispers it, and we do it in such a way so that my no knocks him out. And I mean, it was very Tex Avery cartoon-like, but in the scene itself, it seemed to make sense. Anyway, watch it, you'll see what I mean.
This is what I'm now understanding. What I find funny oftentimes in life is not the intention of the person. It's not whether the thing will or won't be a joke, and it's whether the thing, it's how ludicrous the action is.
Yeah.
And how it, like when you eat the head of a fully charred creature thing, it's sort of like, and there's a thing you do with your eye, which is like, it's almost like you're thinking like, this is, but you know what, it's done. It's done, tell them I've done what needs to be, and you even pause while chewing. It's like a mid-chew pause, and then more chewing. And that's what I don't know. That's what I find funny. I think it's
I guess that is funny. I mean, I think in the theater people laugh, or they're like, oh Jesus, you know. I mean, it's also, I guess, disgusting. I don't know.
Yes, I think that's a great story. That's a great performance. I'm humbly saying, as an audience member, please, I'm not a director. I would shout action at the wrong time. So
I don't think that you strike me as a clever person.
I couldn't help find myself wondering when I was watching the story about Tuesday. I couldn't help wondering how much of it you drew from your life, or how much of it like reminded you of your life. You know, you shared the story of like the pain of loss in your life. You know, losing your dad, for instance.
Yes.
And just like how much he meant to you, his love of poetry, and you know the way he connected with you as a human being and shaped you into who we see you as today. And you know, you shared your journey, for instance, diagnosed with cancer, and how that affected you, etc. When you're watching the movie Tuesday, I feel like everyone can and will connect with it, because everyone has or will deal with loss and grief in some way, shape, or form. And I wondered when you were doing that, was there a part of you that was either remembering or processing or feeling, or you know, did it connect with you in a way that went just beyond the story?
Oh, without question, the entire movie. I tapped into my experience as someone I've lost a number of people who were very close to me. I certainly tapped into that. I tapped into the ferocity that I feel as a mother and my bond with my children. Yes, I would fight that to save my child's life. I would fight that. I wouldn't even hesitate. So I tapped into all of that stuff, all of it. And because that's your job as an actor, you have to bring honesty. And so that's what I did. It was not easy.
How do you move on after loss?
Well, in my experience anyway, and people suffer all kinds of different loss, of course, but in my experience, it obviously takes time, and then something that sort of helps me, and I've found it to be the case, is that it's not like the relationship with the person that you've lost has ended, it's just shifted. So, for example, you mentioned my father, so I think of my father all the time. I feel as if I still have a relationship with him. And it's maybe more of a mysterious spiritual relationship, but he's very much in my being. And so it's a shift. It's a shift. What about you? Have you had a lot of loss?
The only loss I've experienced in my life, I think, is my grandmother. I remember thinking about this. When it happened, I didn't realize that I'd never experienced grief until that moment.
Mm-hmm. Were you with her when she passed?
No, I wasn't. But I remember when my grand passed, it's almost like there was a door inside my chest that had never been opened, and all of a sudden somebody opened it. Yeah. And I was feeling something that I couldn't, it's like a color on a wheel that doesn't have a name or label attached to it, where you go, it is neither sadness, nor is it joy, but it feels like both at the same time. I can't explain it. I found myself crying, but also smiling. Because I was like, I don't know, it was like every memory of her, every moment when I would walk into a room and she would smile at me, every dish she would cook for me, it felt like her life was playing again in my head, and I was celebrating that with tears. It was a very, very strange feeling.
You still think of her a lot?
Oh yeah, all the time. Whenever I'm feeling lost is the wrong word. Whenever I'm feeling a little unmoored, there's just been moments where I go to a mirror and look at yourself the way your grandmother looked at you. Oh, that's very moving. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's oftentimes what it is. Going back to the film, funny enough, I think sometimes what we're not trying to lose is not the other person per se, but it's what the other person holds of us in them.
Yeah. Totally, 100%.
And that's something that I loved in the way you were portraying this mom. At the beginning, she seems overwhelmed, overworked, like doesn't have time for it, or can't even have the conversation. Like when your daughter in the movie says, "Can we speak?" and she's like, "Let's speak tomorrow." And then it's amazing to see that shift when going back to we know we're gonna die, or we know somebody's
Die
gonna
mensen
go.
zeggen is op je lijf. Dan is baardi.
I'm not just losing you, I'm losing a piece of me that is in you. Mm-hmm. So that was, that's why I say thank you, because I clearly laughed at moments where it wasn't funny. I still say thank you.
It is amper beet.
Don't go wrong. We got more. What now? After this.
Mag op. Burgundy.
So you're also the host and creator and driving force behind a podcast that has become really successful, Wiser Than Me. It's different because it's not the same type of project. It's not attached to a giant studio. It's not a machine.
Right.
But it still excited you, I'm assuming.
It did, yeah. I mean, it excited me because that decision was really driven by my own curiosity. I mean, for real. And and sort of like consternation at the fact that older women become invisible and older men, particularly older white men, are not invisible. And that irritates me. But it's not really being driven by irritation. It's being driven by curiosity, because I saw this documentary about Jane Fonda, which, if you haven't seen it, you really should, because you'd really be interested in it. And so it got me thinking, like, wow, I didn't know all of this about Jane Fonda. She's got this huge life. She's done so many different things.
Yeah.
And I hadn't really given that consideration.
Zijn dus een super chick, Bergdy,
There must be so
to
many
cut it beard.
older women in the universe who have
Send
done
the
so
super
many
chat,
things, and we're not hearing from
and we will
them
go to the
in
barber.
that kind of way. And I wish that somebody would do that. And I thought, okay, I guess I'm going to do that, because I was
Absolutely.
very curious about it. But it's hard work doing a podcast. In case you
Chapeau
didn't know.
ones.
Yeah, but yours seems like it's particularly hard because you have a conversation with a person who